Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our virtual town hall, small business town hall. Um, Certainly a lot going on in the state of Rhode Island, and I'm experiencing a lot of that change right now. We're expecting and anticipating a confirmation of our governor as a commerce secretary. Again, a source of pride for our state, for sure. And when that happens, I'll be moving from lieutenant governor to the governor's office. So we're preparing for that, and I just take the opportunity to kind of give an update for people listening to the work that we're doing before we get into the call. That this call there was just focus on our small business issues. So getting our cabinet together, the staff have spoken personally to all the department heads, and I'm really fortunate that every spot will be filled when I take office, which is happening very quickly. That confirmation should happen this week, and next week at this time, our anticipation is that I'll be sworn in as governor of the state of Rhode Island. So making sure the wheels turn. In some cases, they turn a little slower than what people want, but then we want to make sure that we keep on getting the wheels turning to make sure that the basics, things like experienced yesterday, right, with a snowstorm. We want to make sure that the DOT leadership is intact, and that the streets are plowed and our highway systems are safe. So I'm happy about that. And then we're getting into our office staff now, and we expect to have that pretty well under control by the end of the week, so that when we open the doors, that the services that people expect from a governor's office will be there. So that's kind of the update of where we are on that. And of course, the COVID is the main issue. Again, the virus. I've been saying that that the virus is the enemy, and we're going to beat that enemy. And we're going to make sure we put together a battle plan that is including everyone in the state in a way that creates this 9/11 moment, this time when communities come together to defeat the enemy, so that keeps us safe and keeps our economy flowing and keeps our schools educating our children, and of course the equity justice issues that are out there are also front and center. We can't miss the opportunity that we have right now to make sure that we all can kind of make progress during a difficult time like this. So finally, I'll just talk about the education piece. I mention it every time that we're on, that this is a time frame where there's a great deal of lost learning going on. And it doesn't matter whether you're high income, low income, moderate income family. It doesn't matter if you're minority, non-minority, going to a public school, a private school, a charter school. If you live in the state of Rhode Island and you're in that pre-K through the 12th grade, there's significant learning loss that's going on through no fault of our districts. They're dealing as they're providing the leadership that is that under the circumstances that is admirable, and we need to make sure we support them. It's just a fact, and we need to do something about that. So I've been talking about municipal education departments, like I opened up in the town of Cumberland. We're starting our 15th year on that, helping young kids learn to read, do math, science, music, art. Middle school, high school type of curriculum programs going 52 weeks out of the year. And our community has really benefited from that. And I think every community in the state can benefit from that. So we'll be working on those main issues. Again, keeping us safe, keeping the hospitalizations down, infection rate down, death rates. We want to minimize that or zero it out if we can. And of course, the vaccinations is up front and center. This week, we were able to bring all the municipalities together in a way to reset the communication that we have on the state level, from the health department to General Callahan and others, with our municipal leaders. Yesterday, we had, I think, 38 of the 39 communities on the call. And we've agreed to make sure that their leadership is going to play a major role in the vaccinations and how we roll that out. I just got off a call with the governors of the country, 50 governors with the White House, talking about The vaccines increases another 5% on top of the 16% last week is coming. So a total over 20% increase on vaccine availability. And then many other things that are going to help Rhode Island, where retroactively FEMA costs are going to be 100% covered by the federal government. This is all important for our state as we enter in some of the fiscal challenges that we have. So all that is moving in the right direction. We got a long way to go and a lot of work to do, and we got to do our best. And I've always said to do your best is a lot of hard work, and we intend to put that hard work in. And next week, I'll most likely be sitting in the governor's seat, which is a change for sure in terms of the discussion and the conversation that we're having and the opportunities that should bring forward. So I'll leave it at that. It's kind of a long intro, but it's been a 1,000-piece puzzle, as I'm saying, putting this 1,000-piece puzzle on a very short time frame. And I really thank the people who are, been participating, not only in these calls, but participating in the effort to kind of put those pieces in place. So when I'm sworn in, we don't miss a beat and we are moving ahead. That's the idea. So let's bring on Joe Rodeo and Mark to give us a little overview. And Joe, and thanks, Mark. I'm glad you got your mask there. That's why
Governor, good to see you. I have the New England Patriots because I have to confess I am going to root for Tom Brady in the upcoming Super Bowl. So he spent more years here than he has in Tampa. So we got to root for our own. A lot of things going on, Governor. It's good to see you. I wanted to bring you up to date on $72 billion has gone out the door for PPP, the second allocation. And everybody, I know that there's a lot of people getting nervous, but this is $72 billion over a 2.5-week period. And there's $259 billion in the pot. I'm very confident, to be very candid with you, that we're going to have sufficient funds that will last us to March 31st. In addition to that, yesterday, I do know that I had a discussion with a couple of people, and I do know that as part of Senator Collins's proposal to the president and other discussions that are ongoing between the majority and the minority, there's at least some concentration on adding additional dollars to the PPP program as well as EIDL. So, I mean, that's really important. The other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is the fact that first draws, which is because you can draw as a first draw and a second draw, but the first draws were about $4.8 billion, and the second draws is approximately $68 billion. In Rhode Island, FYI, 4,220 loans for $370 million, Governor. That's a pretty substantial sum. And I pulled those down off the computer this morning. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. The other interesting calculation that we did yesterday actually was who is getting this second draw. Accommodation and food services, which of course is SIT-code or NAICS code. I keep saying SIT-code, that shows you how far back in the mirror I am. The NAICS code 72, which is hospitality, 18% nationwide is hospitality related. 14% is construction related. And then professional services is approximately 11%. And why do I bring these up? Because if people have existing loans now, the SBA, now we're not talking about PPP, so I'm moving to a different subject. If you have an existing SBA loan now, the SBA is going to pay for your loans for 3 months. If you're in certain SIT codes, NAICS codes, see, Joe, that it's just automatic for me. If you're in certain NAICS codes, then on your existing loans, the SBA, based on the appropriation that we got, is going to pay an additional 5 months. So, Governor, I got a call yesterday from somebody who's in the personal services business. They are a personal trainer, and they said, I have a loan with SBA. What do I do? I said, well, you're going to get a letter, which he will this week, saying that we're going to pay 3 months. But because he's in that NAICS code I believe it's 81. He now will get an additional, because he's a personal service. And I think, and this is why we tell people all the time, if you're questioning where you sit in all of this, go back and see what you filed on your taxes last year. So on that 81, Governor, he will get an additional 5 months where the SBA will be paying for that particular loan that we have, and that's principal and interest. We pay direct to the bank. The second thing that I want to talk about is Rhode Island is a creative. We know that. And the one thing that I've been warning about is a lot of people saying, well, because you have to have quarter over quarter, which is 19 versus 20, 25% diminution or reduction in net revenue, gross revenues. So we've had a number of people come to us, Governor, and say, well, I'd like to pick February, March, and April. No, Governor, that's not a quarter. It's and I keep telling people, it's January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Those are quarters. That's what we're going to recognize. And the reason why I'm saying this on this forum, because we want people to get their PPP second draw loans. But trust me, you can do aggregated full year 25%. And I will tell you, I was insistent on pressing the people in Washington, and they said, if you're at 24.5, we'll allow that to go to 25. So we've won that battle. So if you're in that number, but the problem is if you use something, Governor, other than the traditional quarters 19 to 20, when you go back and ask for forgiveness, you're not going to be forgiven. Now all of a sudden you got a loan, and that's not what we want. So anyway, all good news, Governor. Everything coming out. We're doing a special PPP with the Rhode Island Black Business Association. We've done a couple with the Rhode Island Hospitality Association. We did one with the CPAs yesterday and a bunch of small businesses, and we're going to continue to do that. I know that's a lot in a little bit of time.
Well, but it's, getting your advice and others' advice of how we get that information out. And if we need to spend money to get that information out, and more businesses get the funds, like you say, going from a 3-month to a 5-month, payment on SBA loans, that's a big deal to move somebody from, first of all, let them know that they're going to get a 3-month. Second of all, if they qualify for the 5-month, at this point in time, I think, we're in the business of making sure that anybody who qualifies gets the money. And if we get 100% of the people who qualify for the funds, you're going to break $2 billion. If we get 80%, you're going to get less. If you only get 70%, so our job right now is to figure out how to make sure that everybody who qualifies applies, and then encourage everybody, even if they think that they're okay, that they're above water, and they're worried about, I don't want to take those funds because somebody else needs them. You just explain that there's billions of dollars. We left $130 billion on the table last time around. Yep. So this is not a scarcity issue, that we have to be concerned about. We need to get that money flowing out. So Mark, we'll be looking for you for some advice about how we can invest to make that happen. And then the other news there about rounding up from the 25%, I have talked to some people who have plugged in that 24 and change. And if they can round up, that again, we want them to round up. We don't want them to round up from 20% to 25%. No, we want them to round up. So, and we give them that guidance. But I think that is really important for our economy to get every single dollar we can in the mix. And I know you've done that in the past, and certainly I'm going to be wanting to support that from the governor's seat.
Couple of more informational tidbits here, Governor. The agency now has moved to 90%. So all loans that are being put on the books now for the next, I believe it's for the next 6 months, it's going to be at a 90% guarantee to the lender. The other thing that's also included in on that is no fees to the borrower, no fees to the lender. Those are all part of the Economic Act that was passed. So that's all aside as well. So really, so if you're a business that's sitting out there and saying, I need additional this is beyond PPP. I need additional funds. I need to do certain things. I need a 504 loan. I need to buy a building down the street because it's going to be in my best interest. You're not only going to get your first 3 months that the agency will be paying for that, but the guarantee is going to be higher, and you're not going to be paying a fee, and the bank is not going to be paying fees either. So there are a tremendous amount of benefits. Again, you and I have talked about the fact that this is a liquidity issue. What the Economic Act did is that just pumping money into the economy, trying to save small business.
And so on that measure, in terms of like people being able to buy buildings to kind of finish off their, they might be renting right now. That building may be available because of a lot of the circumstances. That's an allowable strategy, right? For a business to buy a building they're in that they're renting, that they could put through this loan strategy.
And gaining equity. And if you're gaining equity, I mean, you're building just about everything. Yeah. So there are options. And if they want, Ben, if you can put the SBA district office email up again, or the phone number, great. If you have questions, just email there. I promise you we will get back to you. Yes, we're flooded. We're getting anywhere between 150 to 300 emails a day. And we're getting a lot of calls, but we're answering people's questions. And on the fraud side, I am told, Governor, that on the idle fraud, that additional information will be coming out. I got a number of calls today and yesterday about that. And we get calls when the agency sends out these bills. Oh, by the way, you're going to have to pay in so many months. And that's when people realize, hey, listen, I never applied for an idle loan. So a lot of information is going to be coming out over a short period of time. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help you.
Well, you know what? That's going to bring a smile to a lot of people's faces, where it's usually a little bit of tears that happen there. No, this is so important what you're doing. Joe, you had mentioned last week about microloans. Is there a change in microloans, Joe, or Mark? You can weigh in on that over and above what was in the previous PPPs last spring.
No, microloans. Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
No, please go ahead. I was asking you. Go ahead.
No, microloans basically are the same as they were before. I mean, they're $50,000 or less loans. We have CIC, which is Buck Harris, or we have Seed Corporation, which is Angie LaPierre. Those are our two major micro lenders here in the state of Rhode Island. And they are making loans. I will tell you, because I have a conference call every Monday with all of our partners. And they report to us, they're not only making microloans, but they're making 504 loans, they're making community advantage loans. I mean, they are really concentrating, and there's a lot of things happening. All good things, Governor, here in the state of Rhode Island.
I think the things that came up last week. I think the thing that came up last week, Gov, on the smaller loans is there's a streamlined, simplified application in this round. Is it under 150,000 mark?
Yeah, okay, that's PPP. That's different than a microloan. Yeah. PPP loans, there's a streamlined application. There's a streamlined forgiveness now.
Yep.
Up online as well. I'm not sure all the platform. We do have issues. Let me tell people, because the lenders talk to us all the time. We have issues where we're getting some rejections. We have some code issues. I do know that a number of lenders said, "Why are they telling me that this person's deceased when they're not?" So they're using a platform, and they're using LexisNexis. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but to try to do some comparison, and there are some issues within that. But I will tell you, Governor, to be very candid with you, we're trying to work through all of these issues. And yes, if you're eligible for a loan, get it. That's because eventually it'll be turned into a grant. The shuttered venues, which I apologize for not mentioning up front, that's being slow walked. We don't have the information on that as of yet. We've put everything out that we have. So,
great. Ben, you got something for Mark?
I do. Good afternoon, everybody. So we have
looking very happy today in your orange or red, or what do we got there? Very nice.
I think it's pink technically, but the lighting is. We have a couple questions. One, Peter asks the best way to get specific advice or guidance about the shuttered venues program.
The problem with this, we don't have everything. Whatever we have is up on the website right now, Ben. We had a conference call yesterday with Washington. They said, be patient. It will last. Don't worry about it. It's coming out. We just don't have the people. to stand up the program as quickly as we originally anticipated.
Lori Wagner said, "Our child care provider is part of the 5-month repayment plan."
Well, are we talking about? I don't know. I'd have to go back in, and I believe they are, but they have to go back in. These are NAICS codes that have been severely impacted. So I would probably say yes, but I don't have the codes right in front of me, so I don't want to guess. But they're within the material that I have. I can always get back to you, Ben.
And Miss Lady Matthews, are there any lenders that do not count heavily on credit scores?
So credit scores are important. And we do realize that some people's credit have been adversely impacted, but you have to have a minimum credit score before they can submit. So I would, work with us, send me an email, and we'll get back to them. I know we've worked around a number of them to date, and we'll continue to do that. The agency has lowered credit scores. They have lowered credit scores pretty significantly, and I can't tell you what the number is. Governor, I'll tell you later.
Yeah, tell me later. And then also, it's a good topic in terms of some of the, consultants out there with the small business groups that might be able to help people repair that credit, or at least, talk about that, right?
And SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives, they're really not retired, but they're great people. They're who volunteer to help people. We have the Small Business Development Center, which is headquartered at URI. They help people. The Center for Women in Enterprise, they're helping people. And we have the Veterans Outreach Center here in Rhode Island that is helping our veterans get through a lot of these issues as well. So there are people that are there ready to help.
Yeah, and if you're an entrepreneur out there, we've talked about this before. Contact our office if you're looking for some of that, guidance. This is the time to get it. And this is where there's many opportunities that are happening right now. And if we really get that money into the state market, it's just going to open up a great deal more growth for us.
I agree. Now, Governor, when I came out this morning, I had to shovel the driveway. And unfortunately, at the end of the driveway, it was like cement. And for somebody who's 65, I don't like shoveling cement. So I didn't get in here in my office until 5:40. Wouldn't you know, I already had the light was already lit. Somebody had already called me about that very issue of how do I get a PPP loan? So, but we're here to help.
Yeah.
Last question, Mark. What sort of financial loss documentation is necessary for a PPP loan?
Are we talking about the 25%, Ben? Is that the issue?
I believe so.
Oh yeah. So you're gonna go to your tax returns. You're gonna go to whatever. So a lot of people use QuickBooks, or they use other programs. That's really what you're going to use to give to the lender to show your 25%. And our recommendation is, even if you're 150,000 or less, is give it to the lender up front. And I know a lot of lenders are requesting it up front because you don't want to have those questions on the back end when we go for forgiveness. We just want that to just go through.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Good to see everybody.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
I think Matt's next. Matt, good to see you. I'm glad you get your mask on. I've been starting to toy around with these two, like a double one. I'm doing I wanted to talk about, I was going to do this with Liz, but I'll do that with you. It seems like in some cases, the double is a really an important factor here. So I'm gonna, until I get vaccinated, which I'm waiting, I'll wait my turn. I can't quite understand how I'm going to do my job without the vaccination, but I'll wait. I'll be patient. But anyways, Matt, welcome aboard. Thank you for being here. Give us the update. What's happening with your crew?
Well, I wish one of these weeks I would tell you that we were all just sitting back and helping occasional people, but that hasn't happened yet. We're still certifying. Last week, 91,000 people requested payments. It doesn't mean they all get payments. Sometimes there are reasons they don't, and it's not because we're not doing our job. It's because the claim was stopped, or maybe it was a fraudster that we're able to stop after they requested the payment. But 91,000 requests is an awful lot. Before the pandemic, that would have been unimaginable. And so, even though that we're far into this time, we still remain incredibly busy. The phones have been out of control busy. And when we used to talk before, our goal was to try to serve 1,000 people a day, Governor. 1,000 unique Rhode Islanders that needed help could get served every day. And that meant that we had to have almost all of our staff answering phones. It's a very delicate balance to make sure that you're doing everything you need to do so people don't have to call. This week, I put everybody back on Monday and took them off of some other things because of just the massive volume of calls that have been coming in. Before, when we were doing 1,000 a day, we actually started to hit about 1,500 a day. And that was when we were getting between 15 and 20,000 calls. Not that many unique individuals, but that many calls. That was probably 3,000 to 5,000 unique callers that call multiple times. Now our average is probably 40 to 50,000 calls a day, probably coming from 5,000 to 8,000 Rhode Islanders. We've had a few days that were over 80,000 calls in a day. And so it doesn't matter if you have 50 people, 60 people, 70 people on the phone. You could never have enough people to handle that volume of calls. So we really need to do the best we can to, first of all, try to get through this fraud problem, weed the people out that shouldn't be calling, because it may surprise you to know this, and it disgusts me, but my staff is spending a lot of time talking to fraudsters now that have called in and patiently waited, that are trying to game the system, thinking that they can get the individual on the phone to buy their story and then pay them. And what that does is it blocks a Rhode Islander that needs help from getting through to us. So we look at new tools and resources every week. We work with a company and educate the artificial intelligence that we have every week to scrub the bad claims out. And now we're looking at putting in some more controls on the phone system to try to prevent people from, other countries from calling in when they don't have to try to prevent people from calling from out of state when they're purporting to be somebody from in-state, and so it's very sophisticated and hard. Sorry to have to report that, but that's the reality. So if you're a Rhode Islander and you need help, right now, I'm still asking you to call early and call late in the day, call on Saturday. In the meantime, if you can't get through and you need help, please go to the Lieutenant Governor's email and his staff will contact me quickly, and we'll assign it as quickly as possible to get resolved. And I saw a couple comments just before I go into my main topic for today really briefly. A couple comments were about individual issues. My preemptive answer is go to the Lieutenant Governor's email and let them know you're having the problem. One of the questions was about if you had a PPP loan and we're trying to collect unemployment, does the intersection of those two programs prevent you from collecting? The answer is no, it doesn't, but there's probably another reason why you're having an issue. So go ahead and email that email address that Ben put up. They'll reach out to me and we'll get somebody on it right away. The big issue of the week is tax documentation. And so we send out every year to everybody who claims unemployment benefits what's called a 1099-G statement, and it goes out in January typically. This year, we had to receive an extension like most states in the country, if not every state, because of the massive amount of fraud that's been perpetrated against the federal programs. We had to take some time to clean up the 1099s and make sure that we're getting the right ones out. So a couple points I want to make. One, they're available for download now on our website, and they have been since the weekend, dlt.ri.gov, and you'll see a banner that has information about how to download it. If you know your BYE code, which is your benefit year ending code, which everybody that claims every week knows what their code is, it's mostly going to be a 20 or a 21, and your PIN and other personal info, you can enter it like you're requesting a payment and pull your own 1099-G down for your taxes. If you don't know that or you have a problem, there is a remedy for that. And right now I'm telling you can call, but we're also mailing them all out. So usually we try not to do both. And I'll tell you why. It's expensive to mail them out and takes a long time. But we printed 250,000 1099-Gs that have to go out. And we didn't have enough time to put them on the website, Governor, and let people print them and then reconcile the files and then say, okay, now we only have to mail out 150,000. So I made the decision, let's just mail them all. Everybody will get one in the mail. If you collected benefits, you're going to get a 1099-G in the mail. They're going out this week and next week, so you should have them pretty soon, depending on how long the Postal Service takes to get them out. You can also download it online, so you should try that. The big issue is two things. One, if you reported fraud in your name, we lock that claim down. We call that confirmed fraud. The IRS says you do not need to get a 1099-G because they already have that information because we've reported it. There is no tax implication for you. You won't be responsible for 1 cent of money that was paid out in your name, and you don't need to file anything about unemployment. So if you reported it through the state police portal or directly to DLT, and I would say, I'll add this, if you reported it before December 15th or so, then you probably won't get a 1099 and you shouldn't be getting one if you didn't actually collect and you were a victim of fraud. A lot of people are going to get them and not know what it is. They're going to say, I didn't collect. What is this? This, unfortunately, would be the first time that they find out that somebody filed a claim in their name. That's the imposter fraud we've been dealing with for months now. I'll say that Rhode Island has been out in front and has been a leader on a lot of these things, but it is very difficult to stop them from coming in. You can stop the claims once they get here, but it's tough to stop them from coming in altogether. There is a remedy on our website where if that happens to you, you can fill out a secure form online. You'll go onto a work stream, and I'm going to say now, within a week to 10 days or so, you will be contacted. We'll talk to you. We're going to issue you what's called a corrected 1099-G, so you will be held harmless. The biggest takeaway today, if you're a victim of fraud, you are not responsible for 1 cent of tax money because of that fraud. So we are not asking you to pay anything. If you get a statement and you shouldn't, go on our website and file the report immediately so we can help you. And then the last thing, I mentioned it last week when we had that session and we had some technical difficulties. I gave a public service announcement. What, to me, the fraud situation has taught me that so many people have had their information compromised and they don't know it, Governor. They don't know that they were the victim. I get them every day. I get plenty of them every day where someone says, I didn't file this, Matt, and nobody's breached my info. Maybe your system was hacked. I can assure you it wasn't. And in order to file a claim, you have to have the person's name and social, and it has to match the Social Security Administration's database. So they can file under Matt Weldon, put my Social Security number on, we ping a federal database, and if it comes back as a check, like, yes, you're good to go, then that claim gets filed. Then our artificial intelligence may scrub it and stop it. But it first came in. And so the only way that could happen is if somebody already had my social. So everyone should do a free credit check immediately if they haven't done one recently, and make sure that no one is using your credit and your identity to do anything like buy a new car or, take out a mortgage or a PPP loan. And while if they do any of those bad things, I hope they do them in Rhode Island so our economy benefits from it. I don't want anybody here to be a victim. And so please check your credit, everyone, please.
Yeah, we'll probably have to do a little tutorial on that. Some people can be intimidated by just not understanding what to do to go through the process. I had to do that a few years ago, and I probably have to do it again because, as I mentioned, I got a letter that said I was going to get some claims, and we obviously put a stop to that. But that's good advice, Matt, and that's part of the downside. And these people who are, again, the disdain that I have for people who are trying to take advantage of situations like this during a crisis like we have right now. If we hope that they get caught. We hope. I know that we've caught somebody who did a fraud on somebody in our town, and we had to go and the arrest was made down in North Carolina. So not every one of these people are untraceable. And they need to have their ass kicked and put into jail. This is it's more than just the fraud for the finances. It's preying on people during times that are in a crisis type of situation like now. It just is another disturbance that people just shouldn't have to handle. We see all the emotional stress that's out there. That not only the physical stress but the emotional stress for all the related things we've been talking about here and beyond. Shame on them. And I hope the hell they get their due, which is some time in jail with penalties and fines.
Hear, hear.
Yeah. So anyways, Matt, Joe, you got any questions for Matt? Or looks like Ben might have something.
When we, just after the pause, there was somewhere around, it started anyways, there was somewhere around 70,000 or so, as I recall, people claiming every week. It's risen, obviously, in the 90,000 range now. Has that sort of plateaued? Have you seen any patterns or trends there, or has that been consistently ticking up over the last 2 months?
Well, we began to go up right around the pause time.
Yep.
And it kind of hovered around 80 to 85,000 for a while. And now it's 91,000 for last week. And I honestly think that a number of those are fraud claims that artificially inflates the number. You know, and we're employing more and more tools to try to prevent these. And like I said, that's the toughest part about what we're doing right now, because for every fraudster, there are probably multiple Rhode Islanders that actually need help. So if you were to, some of our colleagues in other states put a hard lock on the front end, and no one can come in unless you can answer 17 super secret questions and stand on 1 foot while you do it. And the problem with that, Joe, is that, you know, everybody that in Rhode Island that needs help needs help.
Yeah.
And we can't lock everything down not to help people. And so we can get more into that in future discussions, but we're doing everything we can to get those bad actors out. But it makes me sick that our fellow Rhode Islanders can't get the help they need on our phones because people are now calling in, pretending to be other people and trying to take advantage of our system.
Sure.
Ben, you got something from that?
I do. Matt, when an employee has a fraudulent unemployment claim, does the employer have to fill anything out?
So the only time the employer would be involved is if they see the employee's information on a charge statement. So we send out monthly statements that would say, you know, to Weldon Enterprises, here are the 2 people that work for you that are collecting unemployment. Sometimes they'll say it's not a bill because they're collecting on a federal program or something, but they're just letting them know as the employer. We have an email address. It's dlt.protest, PROTEST, @dlt.ri.gov. If you want to protest a charge and you're an employer, that's the email you send it to. So the employer can respond to us and say, these people, it's a fraud claim, I shouldn't have to pay. If in the event that they are billed, we can always fix it later. But on the front end, email the dlt.protest email address.
Okay. Is there anything, so we have somebody here that works for a company that's looking to hire 10 to 15 people. Is there any sort of way that they can contact DLT and find people that are on unemployment that would need help?
Well, absolutely. There are ways that they can get people on unemployment or just people that are looking for opportunities that are working with us, and they should go through the Lieutenant Governor's email address and then reach out to me and I'll make the connection.
Okay. Matt has been incredibly helpful. Matt has been, let's see. There are a lot of emails. Okay. Yeah. Basically, if you have any other questions that haven't been answered, send an email to the LTGOV at ltgov.ri.gov. It's incredibly fast. And they do their best to help you if they can. I can attest to that for sure. Somebody else said, I have a friend looking to hire about 30 people. Great. Send an email to that list.
Please.
Also, if you have questions about grants and other things that Commerce is not on today, so if you have questions that weren't answered that you need help with, send an email to ltgov at ltgov.ri.gov and they'll try to help you out. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Matt, thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you, Governor. Thanks, Joe.
You got it. Joe, staying on with Liz. Oh, yeah, Liz is coming on. Hey, I'm doing the double mask now, Liz.
I saw that. Very impressive. That's a great idea.
Double mask because,
Joe, we got the same color, it looks like.
you know, I'm going to be expected to be out there. And, you know, my family, including my wife, Sue, is a little concerned about me. And I got to make sure that I figure out how to make sure that I am staying healthy. Got a lot of work to do. And Liz, I thank Joe for his help during transition. I want to just thank you publicly for the work that you're providing and the assistance you're giving. So thank you so much, Liz.
I'm so glad to see you covering the nose, right? I think that's really important to have it fully covered because otherwise, you know, everything's kind of coming out all over the place.
Yeah.
I just want to acknowledge, so I like these masks so much. I went and got another one. This is, let's see if I can get this on here. Adrian
I like it.
Rivers. She sells them on Etsy. I bought it inside, let's see.
Yeah, we see it. Yeah, it's
There we
good.
go.
Yeah, yeah.
I bought it inside the Coffee Depot in Warren. This is they had all sorts of Valentine's ones. I bought one for everybody in the family. I love them so much. So once again, shopping local is very important.
Yes, love that.
So I just have a couple of things to talk about, and then I kind of have a big question for all of the viewers today that I'm hoping they'll share. But I just wanted to bring up today we have 2 hotspots that we're seeing. I'm not sure what's going on, but we've got a lot of problems in the auto industry. So whether it's a car dealership or an auto parts store or repair shop, it just seems like there's a lot moving in that area. So I just want to put a shout out to that industry to try to do what you can about masks, because we're finding that a lot of these folks are not wearing masks, or more often than not, they're wearing them below the nose. So I get that you're working on a car and a mask doesn't make a lot of sense, but when you're walking away from the car, you got to wear a mask. And when you're going to get parts or you're doing something with the dealership, it just seems like there's a cycle of what's happening in places in the auto world. And then I don't think it comes as any surprise, but we continue to see the same problem with delivery services. So whether it's your big boxes like FedEx, UPS, Amazon, things like that, but also some of your smaller delivery services as well. So if you have people delivering things into your office space or in your business, please make sure they're wearing a mask. Make sure they're doing the right thing. Make sure that they're washing their hands, whatever it might be. But we saw an uptick in those two places in the last few weeks, and I just wanted to kind of call it out because I don't think some people think about who's coming into their space, right? Maybe you're having water delivered, just making sure that maybe they have gloves on or they're washing their hands or you're wiping down whatever they may have brought into your space. So I just wanted to call those two things out. But then I also wanted to say, there's been a lot of comments on the side, and because our numbers are getting better, fingers crossed that this is going to last. I think we're all very nervous about the strains that may be coming that might affect our numbers. But as of right now, our numbers are starting to look a little better. So the question that we're wanting to ask is, what hurts you? What are the restrictions that hurt you? We are very clear about bars. I know that there's a lot of restaurants that really like to have the bar areas open. I know the gyms are struggling with some of the spacing requirements, as well as some other folks who have expressed some concerns, whether it be about offices or some other things. But that's what we've heard so far. So the question is, what else are we missing? I don't think there's a world where we just get rid of all of the restrictions. That's not safe for everyone. But if you could share with us what you think would make a big difference to your economic activity, your bottom line, it would be really helpful for us to know that. So if you can share those with the Lieutenant Governor's office at his email, he will certainly reach back out to me and provide that information so we can take a look at it. So so whether it's you or somebody whatever you're hearing, if you could share that with us, we really want to know what it is, and we'll take a look at it and try to make it better in some way if we can. But that's really all I had today, LG, in case anybody had any questions or you wanted to share anything.
I think that's important, Liz, in terms of what you said. Yesterday I reached out to all the municipal leaders. We had virtually every single municipal leader on a call with Dr. Alexander Scott and her team, the team that will be my team, right? I'll be part of my team, right? Very shortly. So, and I think that's something everybody needs to realize out there that, that's our team. And that was a great resetting. It was a resetting call and a little bit of venting, but not much. And we got to resetting the table. And so now we have a process that we're going to really work on to make sure that, and I bring that up because I think it's important that the municipal leaders are part of the planning process in a way that they feel as though that their input had been valued. And then eventually you got to come out with a plan from my office, which would go through the Department of Health and that type of thing. But I think we need to do the same reset again with as you were talking about, with our small businesses. And I think that we need to provide certain levels of information so that, a 0 to 60 in 1 second is not gonna work based on the information, but some level of incremental movement in the right direction seems as though it's appropriate. So, but we got to find that sweet spot, right? There's a sweet spot that you have to determine where it is and then build off of that. So I think that will bring them into that discussion. So I'm glad you started that. And that was my intention. I know the next crew that's coming on with the small business crew, we're going to start talking about that. And I think that, that discussion is very, very important for us. But get the PPP loans out. Those are going to be forgivable. That's going to make our life a lot easier. There's the more money we can get into our economy and the work that you're doing and supporting that. Joe, you got any questions of Liz?
No, thanks as always, Liz, for making sure that our consumer activities stay safe so that people can do the things they need to do, visit our small businesses with confidence, and have a safe environment for everyone.
Yeah, incredibly important. You want to make sure people are out there because they feel safe doing so rather than it being a free-for-all. So very important.
Yeah, consumer confidence is a part of it as well, right? You're not going to do business if people don't feel safe coming into your shop. So we'll find that sweet spot and then move off of that. So thanks, Liz.
Liz, I have no questions for you that aren't questions that you already answered. So I just want to reiterate that the comments right now is not the location to put the suggestions that you just had for Liz. Please send an email to ltgov@ltgov.ri.gov with what restrictions are hurting your business and what would help, and they will take a look at them from there. But please do not just post them in the comments. That is not the way to get your point heard.
No.
So thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thanks very much.
Cheyenne reads all of them and she tries to respond to them as best we can, but that's part of our team. Thanks, Liz.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Joe,
Thanks, Kev.
thank you very much.
Appreciate
I'll
it.
be talking to you very shortly.
Sounds great.
Okay, so let's keep moving forward. Laurie's here and I think Chris is here. We get a little overview on the activities in the coalition and then bring on some businesses that want to actually weigh in, I think, on some of those topics that Liz was just talking about. Chris, welcome aboard. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Governor. And I'll be brief because we have a great guest panel coming up, on the restaurant industry. But I do want to let everyone know that we did send out a survey recently, only a handful of hours ago, and we already got a good amount of feedback. One of the questions was, what are some restrictions, if any, you would like to see changed? And I got to say, it's a very mixed bag. Some folks are saying, hey, let's not change anything. Our health is the number one priority, and what we have is fine. While you have the other side of the spectrum saying, open everything up, there should be no restrictions. But there's some in the middle there that we're going to compile and we could send to Liz and her team. So the survey is on rismallbusiness.org/survey series, which Ben is showing here. And in addition to the restrictions questions, we did ask them, what is your economic outlook for the next 6 months? And, out of a scale 1 to 5, with 1 being very bad and 5 being very good, it hovered around 2.5. So bad to fear is where these small businesses are faring. And when you get specific, like when we asked them, were you able to afford February rent for your business? Over half of them said no or barely. And that aligns with the national poll that we referenced last week, when over 10,000 small businesses were polled and 50% of them, had trouble paying February rent. So we got a lot of great information from our coalition members that we'll continue to share with your office. We'll share with Liz. And if you want your voice to be heard, please go to rismallbusiness.org/survey series. Thank you, Ben. You are always on cue there, and let us know so we can continue to support and advocate for your needs.
Thanks, Chris. Laurie.
Great. So on the Shop Local initiative, we continue to grow, which is amazing. We have over 2,000 businesses listed there, and we are beginning to add the e-commerce component. So that's coming down the pike in a couple weeks. And we also have some really exciting delivery news coming up. So we really are focusing on getting this Rhode Island small business community to service the Rhode Island community. So getting the dollars in Rhode Island, spending the dollars in Rhode Island. We're also working with the Central Falls and Pawtucket groups to create different business communities. So if you're living in a particular community, like the 39 cities and towns in Rhode Island, we will really, it will allow customers to go into their own communities and understand what's there and have the confidence. We have created Shop Local Rhode Island stickers. Let me see how I'm doing this. And it says operating in accordance with the Rhode Island safety guidelines for the reopening Rhode Island. So it's a very quick branding for people that are walking or driving. If they see this sign, and we're asking the businesses to put the sheet next to the sticker so that everyone knows exactly what's happening when they walk into a business. Is it 6 feet apart? Are aisles going one way? Will there be hand sanitizer? How often is the business? Because these businesses are serving the communities, and and they're trying to be as safe as possible. Like Liz says, I mean, they're doing everything. So this is a very quick way for a customer and consumer to have the confidence to approach a business. And so we're trying to hit all angles and all communities, and it's been fascinating, a lot of work, but good. And we're actually getting a lot of bilingual input. So we're shifting the languages on the site into Spanish as well, so that we are serving all the communities.
Great, Laurie. Great, Chris. I'm going to look forward to keep on with this train going in the right direction. And and finding that sweet spot is really a key to what the discussions I'm having with the state leaders right now. And there's only room for one governor at a time. So, but I think that discussion's going to develop, and I think sharing information is so important as you try to find that area where you really, you're pushing it, but you're not pushing it too far, because the safety, as you know, has been the top priority in all these calls, right?
Right.
Safety is the key, and then the economy is the crisis as well, and you know that how I feel about education right now too. So we'll keep on plugging together. And
I would say I love the sign me up for the entrepreneur teaching job. I'll be there for you.
Great. Yeah, we're I tell you, it's as I mentioned, we're going to do our best, and doing your best is a lot of hard work. And I know Laurie and Chris have put a great deal of hard work in as as volunteers to help the small businesses, and that's something that I remember being in a very difficult time economically for our business back in the 90s with the bank crisis, and I pulled the whole staff together and I said, look, this is going to be something that you're going to really, really value down the line. This experience is one we don't want to have to go through, but the people who actually step up and do the work, this is a tremendous, tremendous experience in terms of getting some level of feel of what it's like to go through a crisis and to step up during one. So you both have done that. So thank you very much for doing that.
I mean, offering this platform as you do is so important. You're covering it on all angles. So that's what's needed.
Great. Let's listen to the businesses and hear
Thank you, Governor.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Laurie. Yeah, so I know we're going to go a few minutes over. I just saw Senator Palmer put a little nice plug in for both the small business coalition. If you haven't joined yet, go to rismallbusiness.org and register your business. The voice of that group is going to be incredibly important, not only today but down the line. So let's bring on our panel of businesses, and we'll certainly give them the opportunity to present their cases and talk about what's going on. And Luke, welcome. Kelly, welcome. Luke, can reintroduce yourself, and I know that you want to go over you had a little rehearsal, I think, for what an event might look like in the state, and I think that Kelly will have some input on that too. But reintroduce yourself. You've been a really good leader in your own right, and a big, strong advocate for the event planners that are out there and all the related businesses that involved with events. Welcome.
Thank you, Governor. Yes, we had a really busy week last week with our mock wedding event, which was really successful. We also had the first of its type of testing that took place right on site. 42 tests, which included both guests and the vendors that were on hand, and all 42 were negative. So we were very pleased at that and the process and how it worked. And, at the same time, we were filming a training video that is going to be produced hopefully within the next week or two. We're putting the final touches on it and then bringing that to DOH for some approval. But it's looking very promising, and I think it's going to be a great tool. And for us, we've gotten feedback from the exposure, people from Canada, people from all across the country that have reached out and want to adapt the policies that we've come in. So I think it's bringing Rhode Island to the forefront of how we can keep people safe, as well as trying to open it up to people to celebrate, and also putting some small businesses back to work. And so, I definitely think it's been a great thing. We've been partnering up with Commerce, putting this video together. So, I mean, all the support out there has been crucial. And your support again along the way has certainly been, helping along what we're trying to do. And that's just, again, to make this happen for everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. I know I've talked to Secretary Pryor about the rehearsal you had there, and he was very optimistic that we can figure out a way to plug in. And like I said, it's finding that sweet spot. It's finding the spot where it intersects, where we go as far as you can go without impacting our health. And that's where we need to try to find where that is. And we shouldn't push it any quicker than where we can kind of do the calculation, but where we can make some level of advancement, we shouldn't be shy to do it. So I think that what you did is showing a path of ways that we could, talk about that. So we're looking forward to that discussion. Kelly, say hello.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor, for including us in this afternoon's broadcast. And I'm here from Social Enterprise Greenhouse, and we are an organization that is committed, just like the Lieutenant Governor, to supporting small businesses. And our focus is really on supporting startup entrepreneurs, small businesses, particularly those who have been historically excluded, as well as those that are really committed to making our communities better and stronger. And we have always had a very comprehensive menu of services, incubation programs, acceleration. We do individual coaching and advising. We have a loan fund. We have a co-working space. We're sort of headquartered in the Jewelry District in Providence, but we work out of a co-working space in sort of at the border in Pawtucket, Central Falls, and also out of Innovate Newport and Newport. So we're trying to meet people where they are and with what they need. And since the pandemic, we have taken all of our programming online, but we have also added programs specific to, the needs that small businesses are experiencing right now. So adaptive strategy consulting sessions, help applying for the different CARES Act funded resources that have become available, one-on-one coaching. We have an amazing network of expert coaches. All of these services are free to small businesses. We also have a program where we're helping small businesses that do not have a web presence build a web presence or enhance an existing web presence to make them be able to better sort of operate during these new circumstances. So we really try to meet the small businesses and entrepreneurs where they are. If you're someone who's always wanted to start something and you have a little bit of extra time right now, we are the place for you. And if you're a business that's thinking about adapting and not only trying to survive during these very challenging times, but be able to adapt to even thrive, we are here for you. And I'm assuming that I will put my email in the chat, and just really excited about the opportunity to work with you, Lieutenant Governor, and with, so many of the small businesses that make up our economy.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. I know we visited your shop before the pandemic hit and talked about the high school entrepreneurship program. We're still, we're going to rally around that as we catch our breath, and hopefully that's a program I want to stick with the Lieutenant Governor's office for on and on and on for, so hopefully that's going to happen. If it doesn't, I'll take it into my wing in my new office and make sure that the entrepreneurship of our young kids is really, emphasized. And then the other opportunity, Kelly, is what Mark Hayward was saying. We are tremendously challenged, but there is resources that we could never imagine that are going to be coming into the state through the stimulus programs and through the SBA, as Mark was outlining. This is a really opportunity for people who are really that are inclined to want to get into entrepreneurship in any way, shape, or form. This is a great entering point for people. It is there. It's clearly there. And we're going to do everything we can to maximize that opportunity, because that only can help not only our businesses that are currently in business, but our economy down the line. If we take advantage of we're talking about a couple $2 billion just on PPP loans if we do it well into our economy. And then in addition to that, I think there's going to be other opportunities, as Mark laid out. There's going to be an aggressive strategy to keep the businesses that are in business open. And I think there's going to be a real play towards understanding that the economy is going to bounce back based on how well we do in terms of reopening, keeping business open, and opening up new businesses. So I think you're right in the right spot. And we just got to find how to take advantage. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just wanted to also say all of our programs are offered in English and Spanish. So we're very committed to being accessible in as many ways as possible.
Well, that's where a lot of our growth of our small businesses is going to be, in that minority sector. And we got to make sure that we pay attention to that as we keep the eye on the ball for all the businesses that are currently in business, right? We all got to do well. And that's the plan. So you're going to play a role in that, Kelly. So thank you for being here. All right, I think we got some restaurant crew here to talk a little bit about, open up the conversation about how to find that sweet spot in all this work that we're doing in terms of the restrictions against the health and that type of thing. So I think that, I don't know who wants to go first. I got Rick and I got Mike. I got two mics, and I got Jared. Hi, Jared. How are you?
Governor, thank
you. You're on mute, but let's start over with my hometown. I'll start with Mike, and then I'll go to Jared because he's got roots in my hometown. And then we'll go Mike, and then we'll end up with Rick. All right. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, good morning or good afternoon, I guess, at this point. So
yeah, we're just over the 1 o'clock. That's all right. We'll go to 15:15. So everybody got 3 or 4 minutes to kind of weigh in.
I'll make this one quick. So as I explained yesterday to Small Business Coalition, we've been traveling. We're looking for property up in New Hampshire to place to go hide and what have you. As my wife just retired Friday officially. So anyway, so we've been traveling through New York State, upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and Massachusetts. And all of the rules are way different. What I've seen is a lot less restrictive. Vermont has a lot of rules, but no one's following them. New Hampshire has no rules, and in the rural areas, the bars were full, the restaurants were full, everything was going on normally. They've been that way for a while. Massachusetts has got quite a number of rules. They're more strict than Rhode Island, and they're not following them either. If you go from Cumberland over to Attleboro and through the area, the restaurants are full, the bars are full, and everything's going on. So what's hurting us the most right now is our seating capacity and not having our bar. It didn't matter as far as not being able to sell after 10 o'clock, because unlike the downtown area and Rick's neck of the woods over there, I don't have a crowd after 9 or 10 o'clock. This is the rural area, so we're done. But I need to be able to put as many people as I can in here while we're open. And as of right now, we're not making it with that. We're one of the ones that could not pay our rent this month. So we didn't get very much of the state money, as you know, LG. We didn't get very much of it, and we're still here. We've been here the whole time. We've kept our staff, and we're still going. So, like I said, I just want my bar and my restaurant back. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I got it. Jared. Oh, you're still on mute, Jared.
Can you guys hear me now? All right, very good. Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. I know on the last segment, just want to say thank you to Mark Haywood from the SBA. He's been very helpful throughout the first round of the SBA loans. There was a lot of guidance that was needed and clarifications on the PPP round 1. And, here we are in round 2, and we're thankful for that. Matt Weldon from DLT. We have a high employee count, so kind of juggling all this during COVID, as well as juggling COVID-19 operations and protocols and lockdowns and restrictions that I'm sure all of you on this panel are aware of, the pains and tribulations that came with that. and in trying to comply and operate a safe environment. We thank you for that guidance, and incoming Governor McKee for hosting all of these town halls and all of these weekly meetings we were having going through COVID. I think it was sometimes more frequent than that. Even it was somewhere to look for guidance, because there was a lot of absence of guidance, a lot of questions that small business operators, which are the backbone of this country, and especially Rhode Island. I think we have over 50,000 small businesses. It's a lot of folks that were all on the same page, and we weren't sure where to look. So we thank you for that guidance during that time. Just kind of gonna take us back just for a quick moment. I know we're talking about going forward now, but I think it's important. We can learn a lot, right? Hindsight's 2020. We were actually, I think, the first restaurant to shut down their dining rooms before the governor even did, when COVID was first striking us. By no means did we want to be the center of an outbreak for our employees, for our customers, or for the community. We've kind of lived through this and learned from this. I know a lot of times we've heard different folks get up on stage, various departments, various roles in our local government here in Rhode Island, and reference the science and the data. No one wants to play Monday morning quarterback. There's nothing to really learn from that, but we can learn a lot from hindsight, which is 2020, right? Hindsight being 2020 vision. We have a clear picture by looking backwards, and we can learn from a lot of those decisions in the science and the data. I think when I was pulling up the current tracker as of yesterday, and I believe Rhode Island was still ranked fourth highest in COVID cases. When you look at cases per capita, when we look to that, and we look to some of our counterparts, some of our other fellow states here in America, and we look at places like Florida, a lot less restrictions. And they're in the lower half of the states as they rank in the cases per capita. I think there's a lot we can learn from some of our fellow states and look to them in making these decisions moving forward, to successfully and safely move forward from a business standpoint and a community standpoint. And as incoming Governor McKee has stated several times, finding that sweet spot, I think that's really important, that we find that sweet spot sooner rather than later. We were very willing at the onset of COVID to shut things down, even more so than our own local government did. It was a decision we made as a private business for safety. So I'd say we definitely erred on the side of caution to pretty much the highest degree. We've since moved on from that and looking at the science and data here in Rhode Island, as opposed to in comparison to other states in the COVID infection rate per capita, as well as the science and data as it relates to Rhode Island and the restrictions we've set forth in Rhode Island and the timeline of that in our look back period, again, hindsight being 2020, it's pretty evident that when the more restrictions we put in place, some of them, I'm not sure exactly where we came up with them, kind of looking at some of the other states and their guidance and restrictions, but we actually saw spikes in COVID rates as it relates to those restrictions. A lot of folks returning to home gatherings, where there isn't any liquor license on the line. There isn't a governing body that is making sure that folks are remaining seated or that they are wearing the mask at the appropriate times. So I really hope that between a lot of these town hall calls and getting this transition team in place from Governor Raimondo into incoming Governor McKee, I'm hoping that our current leader and our incoming leader and their teams can hopefully make a smooth transition for the success of Rhode Island, and really putting some measures in place that are going to keep us safe and healthy in all facets.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you.
Mike Constantino, please say hello.
Well, Governor, I'd like to thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak. I'd also like to kind of take this moment to thank Rick Simone for all his help. He's really been on the front lines of this thing from the very beginning. He's lobbied really hard for small businesses, and he's done a lot of work. I just kind of want to take the opportunity to give him a chance for his props. I'd like to touch first on the increase we saw from the hours being changed this week. This was really helpful for a lot of us. That last seating that we were able to get, especially being, kind of like Michael said, in a city type area, that's big. That allowed, that does help a little bit. It helps to alleviate some of the stress that's been put upon us with these restrictions. I think going forward for us, a big area to finding that sweet spot, especially for a lot of the businesses, would be the use of our bar areas. A lot of the restaurants, the bar occupies more than half of the dining room, especially in, ours, others, that are located near us. That space, especially for dining, is really needed. We feel as all the businesses have gone above and beyond retrofitting their bars, spending thousands of dollars on plexiglass and safety measures that's come along with using those areas. And to not have them, especially for dinner service, is really, really impactful on us. It's almost insurmountable. And that effect isn't just on us as business owners, it trickles down to our employees, just due to the restrictions and everything. Our guys are on rotating shifts. They're not allowed to work the way that they normally would be. And these aren't easy jobs to replace. Servers and bartenders average over $20 an hour, in our establishment. And to find jobs for people like that is not easy. And even us, this will kind of speak to a different point, but, we've been able to use people in different aspects of our businesses because our market is still open and our distribution is still open. But even now our distribution, based on the restaurant restrictions, is starting to take a hit. So jobs that we found for people over the summertime working as delivery drivers and factory workers, those jobs are now at risk because of these restrictions and the length of time that they've gone on for. We understood the pause when it started. We just never expected it to go on as long as it has. So those are just a couple of things. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Hi, Rick.
Governor, how are you?
We're hanging in there to putting this 1,000-piece puzzle together, one piece at a time.
You're doing a good job, sir. We all appreciate it. And I want to start out by saying to thank you and also to thank Stefan, Met Chief from Commerce. What we did last week was a really good step. And I mean, just from the numbers I've been able to gather and talk to people, that curfew effect, the lowest, it was double-digit increases from week over week. The lowest increase I had was 15%. The highest I had was 22% from just lifting the curfew. So talk about the difference.
It started on Friday, right?
Yes, sir. And that was the other thing I want to thank you. Thank you for that not being Monday. So that was incredible.
That was like my first victory of not even being a governor yet, that we got that done, right?
And I loved that victory. So to you and to Commerce over there, to Matt and Stefan, talking to them constantly and your team, it was really helpful and appreciative. So thank you for getting us started in that way. The other things that have been going on in conversations in this, we're talking about these sweet spots and keeping us economically competitive to other areas, like Michael talked about from Got a Q there, is that other states, we're still in this position right now where we're not competitive enough to be able to maintain it. And the better the weather gets, the more we need out-of-state tourism, so to speak, to come in safe manners. The table sizes and the bars have got to be our next two big things. And, I've had this conversation with Health, had this conversation with Liz Tanner. We've proven we know how to manage our bars. We went through it when we had to plexiglass them. We went through and how we divided them, how the staff managed them. It's already proven. So we know that we can bring ourselves back and flip the switch, so to speak, like we had to on Friday to get the curfew lifted. Is that when we can do this, and I'm hoping it's incredibly soon, everyone is ready. The materials are in place. Mike over there, Michael Avenda, Jared, they can all tell you, we're ready for this and we need it. And the table sizes, we're competing with Connecticut and Mass, where Connecticut's tables are at 8 and Massachusetts are at 10. I mean, and then when you get up, like Michael was saying, you get up further north, they're at least 8 and growing up to 12. So it's a couple disadvantages that we still have. Mike's saying up. So those are some things that are really, we feel have to be our next steps, Governor, to work with to get this done. And it's not pressing the health issues or the seriousness of the pandemic, because we've already proven that we can manage it. And I do want to say that, in working with Dave and in working with Sam at Health, that we've increased the number of restaurants that keep testing. And we're going to continue to do that for the testing of their employees. So these are things that I feel we can accomplish soon with you, hopefully transitioning in this week.
Yeah, so we'll end it there. I know that everybody's time is pressed here, but I appreciate everybody coming on. and the strategy that I think that needs to be done is, and which I started talking about the municipal leadership, how I brought all the municipal leaders together. Remember, I was a mayor, so, and we've stayed, it's not like they're strangers to me. They're in the 6 years since I have been a mayor. I've been in virtually I have been in every office in the state of Rhode Island more than once, 2-3 times. So I know all the municipal leaders, I know all the town managers. And so I think that they're going to play a role in not only the vaccine issue, but I think they are going to play a role as they get more up to speed about, finding that sweet spot again, finding that place where you're not going over the line because, health could be at risk, but going up to that space so that we can, have limit the amount of businesses that are at risk, right? So we'll be immediately bringing in, just like I did with the municipal leaders, we'll identify people who have surfaced to be leaders in this effort, right? And because you can't put 10,000 businesses in a room, right? And Chris has talked about surveying many of them that are in the coalition, and that input's going to be important. But I think sharing, that's what we're going to do with the municipal leaders. We're going to be very transparent with information, and I think that that's going to be extremely important as we go forward, that the balance is there, because I've said over and over again on this program, health is absolutely number one priority. That you can't get past that. The economy is right there, and the schools are right there as well. So we'll invite everybody in very shortly after I'm sworn in as a priority to find ways to. What I think we need to do is we need to take each category that has had some level of restriction in terms of the state, which the restaurants are one of them, and then really analyze each piece as its own place, as its own, and not to bundle them together as we did in the pause. We bundled a lot of businesses in that pause that, quite frankly, probably didn't have to be in there. So, but also the other one that I would also say is that when we list the amount of businesses that have been restricted compared to the amount of businesses that have just been impacted by the COVID, right? We can't get away from the impact. You're going to find it's a relatively small group, and that's going to be helpful because then we can just focus on that group in an intentional way. Luke, did you want to weigh in for a second?
Yes. I just wanted to share that, obviously I didn't talk about it much with our conversation, but we've been impacted. I mean, right now, I had 3 calls in the last 24 hours for June weddings that want to move forward. So our problem is our clients are planning ahead. And so we need to work. I know we're trying to work hard on this, and we've got some ideas. In fact, I actually had a conversation with Abbott, the Buy Next Now testing, and they were talking about, they reached out to us personally because of the mock wedding. And I was talking with them. They have an app that they can also use to coexist with the testing, so that if we start doing the program, like we said, of making sure everyone is tested to keep people safe for the events, they will be able to use this app, which has not been talked about much. And I have a further conversation with them about it. But I think the app is going to be a really big option, even for the restaurants. If they come in and they have the app that they've gotten tested, that is something that I think is going to be a big component for us and for events and for eventually opening up, everything. And I think that's key. And even today, I'm doing at 2:00. I have a call on with all the brides and couples that are planning. They just want some guidance. They want some help. They're feeling lost. So at 2:00 today, I'm actually going on. We've already had over 150 people register that they just want some guidance. So, we definitely need to keep in mind. I know Rick and I talk a lot with the restaurants and the event industry, but we definitely need to, there's a lot of opportunities for us to keep people safe and open up and do that. And I just wanted to mention that because I know we've got some progress going, but we need to continue to work together to help our industry out, to help everybody out to move forward.
Well, you all got my cell phone number, so that's not changing. So give me, a little bit of time to catch my breath. 24 hours after I'm in, we'll definitely be reaching out in a strategy to bring everybody together to share information. I think that that's part of what needs to be done too. I think we need to share real information, and so when you see that, I think that you're gonna people who are going to the extreme want to go from 0 to 60 in one shot. The data doesn't. You just can't do that. but can you actually move it up and then take a look, and then move it up with a plan and take a look? I think that'll put a lot of responsibility on the business owners who are saying that their businesses are not impacting the virus rate, right? We're going to be able to inch it along to see, how far we can bring it. So we'll be looking forward to talking to everybody. And but at the same time, I can't put 1,000 people in the room at the same time. So we got to kind of figure out how to have a dozen people in the to share the information that can be shared out to the larger groups. Looking forward to it. Yeah, so I mean, you've heard it. We have a health issue that we got to really get on top of, and we're anticipating if we're not smart about it, we're going to find that the new viruses out there are going to impact us in a way that could be very damaging. So we got to stay on top of the health thing, things that make a difference, and then also we have to share information, whether it's with our municipal leaders, so that they can participate in the vaccination, and also get information to the people who are in the age categories that are next in line. But when is it going to start? Vaccinations for the 75-year-old, the anticipation was that it started this weekend. That was just a pilot. Those vaccinations are starting more mid-February, and we got to make sure we get this information out to people. Same thing with the businesses. You're going to hear anecdotally that this is happening here and this is happening there. Let's sit down. Let's talk about what share the information, and then to come to conclusion, because as we move forward, which is my intention, it also has a tremendous amount of responsibility onto the business owners over and above what they have right now, to make sure that they're showing that they're not that activity in their businesses is not contributing to the infection rate, which in turn it will impact the hospital rate, which in turn will unfortunately so many families, and our sympathies go out to all of them who have lost loved ones, right? So, all right, so we'll be back tomorrow night. I got a community conversation trying to give an update on where we are in terms of this transition, and we'll be back next Tuesday with continuing this conversation about how we can, this virtual town hall, how we can make sure that we help our small businesses in the state of Rhode Island. Until then, stay safe.